If you're racing Ironman 70.3 Oregon, this can be one of the most fun and fastest 70.3 races on the calendar, but really only if you know how to use the course. I raced the inaugural Ironman 70.3 Oregon in 2021, and I finished that first race in 4 hours and 52 minutes. And then last year I came back and I raced it in 4 hours and 34 minutes. So that was more than 14 minutes faster on the same course. So a really good improvement knowing the course. It just didn't come by accident. Just learning the course, the swim, the bike, and the run, and how to use the current on the swim, and where to stay disciplined on the bike, and how to pace the run when it starts to get hot late in the race. And since that inaugural race, I've also coached 7 athletes to qualify for the World Championships, including athletes who have qualified multiple times at Oregon. So in this video, I want to break down the swim, bike, run, and share the biggest tips I can give any athlete racing Ironman 70.3 Oregon. These are from my own experience and from the athletes that I coach. And when you think about Oregon and why it's such a good race, Salem is just a great venue, and race weekend feels very simple compared to some of the bigger races. Everything's focused in that Riverfront Park area. And it's a really popular race because of the fast downriver swim, of course. And then it also has a scenic bike through the Willamette Valley. Really enjoyable bike. I love the bike course. And then the flat and runnable paved trail run to finish the race. And I'll get a little bit more into pacing that run a little further into this video. But it does get a little bit exposed at the later miles and at the end of the race. This is a great race for first-time 70.3 athletes because of that downriver swim and that confidence it can build. But it's also great for athletes seeking a PR. Again, it's a fast course with the downriver swim, fast bike, and a pretty flat run. And then also the competitive age group athletes who want to qualify for the World Championships. This is another great race. So Oregon, it just really stands out as a great race all around. And it's definitely the swim, which I'm going to get into here, talking about the swim breakdown. When we're looking, let me bring up the swim course for you guys. So when you're looking at the swim here, it's definitely fast, it's downriver, so it rewards the athletes who know how to swim it well. And my main recommendation is to arrive early next week. The race is next week as I'm recording this, on Thursday or Friday, and swim the course on Friday or Saturday. Don't race the practice swim, just use it to feel the water temp. I'm going to show you some intel. The water temp's pretty good right now. And understanding where the current is, so take some time sighting and learning where the current flows down the river. And then you want to find some landmarks that you can sight as well, because even though it's a downriver swim, sighting's still really important. And most important, though, is just to learn where the strongest current is. I know I've swam it where I've been sighting and looking at people not in the current and they're losing speed. I'm like, oh, why are they losing that free speed? Of course, they're probably not meaning to do that. They just don't know where the current is and where they should be on that swim and sighting. So going out and swimming the course, it's a pretty easy workout. It's not going to tire you for the race. It's a downriver. It takes about 25 to 35 minutes, and swimming that full course before race day will give you a huge confidence boost and a race day advantage. And you'll see a lot of athletes out there swimming the course, so you won't be alone out there. And then when you're thinking about the swim start, if you look at this picture, you can see that you need to swim directly diagonal across the river to miss this sandbar. This sandbar is mostly underwater. even though in the picture it looks like it's not. So it's a really interesting swim start. I remember the first year I did it, I was just like, it was pretty wild because you're swimming across current. The current's kind of sucking you down, and you can see the rocks of the river underneath you, and you even kind of get some of your fingertips on there. And you got to get across really quick to miss that sandbank. And I remember looking up and seeing people who did not miss that sandbank, and what happened is they had to get up and walk and get over the sandbank into the current. But once you get across, you hit that current, you turn your body downriver, and then it's a downriver swim. It's super enjoyable from there. So you really want to make sure you pay attention to that sandbar and get a quick swim out, which is a little unique with triathlons and 70.3s, because this one is you're trying to get into that current fast, so you need to do a fast start swim. And with the athletes I coach, we work with what I call race start swims. They're race start swims because there's no warm up. On this race, you're going to go off of a dock 2 at a time, so you're not able to warm up the swim before. So an example of a race start swim is a 200-meter really hard effort, and then settle into your steady race effort. And that's what it's going to feel like during this race. You're just going to do that hard effort right at the beginning, get into that current, get your breath back, get relaxed, get into that race effort. And I do these workouts, these training sessions with my clients, with my athletes, because Oregon really does reward athletes who can start hard, position well, and then settle in and enjoy that down current swim and are able to sight and stay in the current. So this isn't a swim where you want to start easy and hope it all works out. You're not just floating down the river. You really want to be intentional early with the swim start. And then another suggestion with the swim, I'm mostly focusing on the swim in this video because it's a big part of it. You do walk to the swim from the transition. So it's about a mile walk. I recommend bringing some old shoes or flip-flops. The first year I walked it barefoot. It was cold that morning, cold on my feet, gravel. It was pretty uncomfortable, honestly. I had wished I had shoes or flip-flops. So I recommend bringing an old pair of shoes or flip-flops, and you can wear those up to the start. They do have a morning check bag that you can stop and check your race shoes and your clothes pretty close to the swim start. My recommendation from my experience is to wear the wetsuit, get a cheap pair of flip-flops from like a discount store, and then just toss them, because you can toss them right at the race start in a garbage can. But both options work well. I just don't recommend walking up barefoot. That was a mistake I made that first year that I won't make again. And then, of course, hopefully you've been practicing your transitions in training too, because fast races often are decided by those small execution details. And then when you're thinking about the downriver swim, it doesn't mean you just don't sight. I mean, sighting's easier because there's only one direction you can go. But again, our focus is to stay in that fast current. And then if you drift out of it, you're basically giving away free speed. So you want to make sure you get back into that current, and the sighting really helps. And then I have a coach tip here from racing, but also from one of my local athletes who does it, who lives in Salem. She taught me this. There's a big tree on the far right side as you're going down the river right before the finish. So once you get to that tree, you want to start cutting right and head into the finish. So there's two things with the finish. If you cut too early, there's another sandbar, and you'll see people standing up and walking. And a lot of people experience this during the practice swim. Another good reason why the practice swim's so important. You want to miss that sandbar, but you also don't want to overshoot it, because then you're swimming up current to get back and you're losing time. So you want to try to get a perfect angle into the finish line and right between that sandbar and not drifting too far down the current. And that will help you have a strong swim. With the with my athlete who lives there. I got some special intel from her. She just did the swim. She's done it 2 times already this week, getting ready for next week's race. She said the water is 72 degrees currently, so super warm, super comfortable. She messaged me this morning that it's like perfect swimming conditions. It is lower, similar to the first year, 2021. So again, you're going to expect that sandbar. And she says there are some shallow water areas, especially where she says at the exit, which I just talked about, and then lots of grass that you might just have to deal with on your face, but not a big deal there. Just some of the river grass that you swim through. So those are all my tips and pointers for the swim, help you have a faster swim and a better swim experience. And then I'm going to quickly just go into the bike and the run. The bike is fast, but I wouldn't confuse fast with flat. They call it a flat race. I would call it more rolling. There's definitely some quick little hills. It's a super fun bike that goes out to the Willamette Valley, out towards like the wine country of that area. So it's scenic, it's fast, so it's super engaging to ride. You don't really get bored out there, but there are some rollers, some quick ups. Like I said, it's not flat. There's about 1,100 feet elevation gain on the course, but all the hills are pretty short. They're pretty punchy, so you can punch up them. You can put in some effort, then get back on the flat and get back into your race pace. The key is, again, it's 55-mile bike ride, is you definitely want to make sure you have your pace in planned and ride to your pace plan and not your excitement level, because getting out of that swim's a little different than other Ironman swims where you are a little bit more excited, a little bit more energized. So just make sure you stay to your pace and plan and not to your excitement level. And then expect the rollers, and again, you can push the short hills, but do it with control, right? Then another good point is the fueling. Since the swim is downriver, a big mistake athletes make on this race is they feel really good right when they get on the bike. They just had a 20 to 35 minute swim downriver, depending on your level. But either way, it's a downriver swim, it's assisted, so you come out feeling much better than other Ironman 70.3 swims. And they think they don't need the fuel, right? You're like, oh, I feel great. I don't need to take a gel. I don't need to eat some blocks. I don't need to eat some bar. I don't need to stick to my fueling strategy. But you need to stick to your fueling strategy and start fueling early once you settle in on the bike. And just remember, you're not fueling for that moment. You're fueling for the last 3 minutes, or the last 3 miles, not the last 3 minutes. 3 minutes too, but the last 3 miles of the run, which I'm going to get into in a second. So Oregon is a race where good fueling on the bike really sets you up for a strong run, and that's true on any 70.3 race. But specifically focus on it early in Oregon, because you're going to be feeling good, and you might be like, oh, I don't need the hydration, I don't need the fuel, but you do. You still have a half marathon to run at the end. Fast bike splits at Oregon come from patience, good fueling, and discipline, and just not from hammering the first half of the course. So stay disciplined on your pacing and fueling, and you'll have a great bike and should have a good bike split finish. So now to the run. I'm a runner, so one of my favorite run courses I've ever done in Ironman 70.3. I've done a lot of Ironman 70.3s. It's goes through their riverfront park, so it's a paved path that's mostly shaded, super pretty, along the river. You can pace it well. You can feel good off of it, but you can make a mistake, and I've seen it happen with a lot of athletes, and I myself have had to dig deep into my grit. The last 3 miles of the race get pretty exposed. So you're out in the sun and all suddenly it feels really hot, especially if it's a hot race weekend. And I think this next weekend probably will be with the type of weather we've been having in Oregon. It's been pretty warm. So you get exposed to the sun, you're on hard concrete, it feels extra hot going into the finish line in those last 3 miles. So you want to make sure you keep your pace good and you're pacing to finish strong. I call that finishing strong for those last 3 miles. And again, staying up with your hydration and your fueling strategy. My advice is really just to pace the run with the last 3 miles in mind, and hydrate well and be mentally ready for the race as it gets harder late into the race. And this is true for all endurance. That's why it's called endurance. We have to endure through some suffering, right? Some hard areas into the race. So make sure you have a mantra ready, something that you can tell yourself to keep it positive, get yourself out of negative talk. Remember those last 3 miles, there is only 3 miles left. So typically I'll remind myself it's a 3-mile run. I run 3 miles multiple times a week. I can do this. I can get to the finish. I can finish strong. I can even pick up the pace a little bit and have a strong finish. So don't wait until mile 10 to decide how you're going to respond when it gets hard. Just keep that in mind from my tip I just gave you. And expect those last 3 miles to be a bit challenging, but you got it. Keep a strong mantra and finish strong and break down the race into those small blocks. So you've run 3 miles. Probably you'll run 3 miles the week of your training for the Ironman. So that's something good to remind yourself. Oh, I run 3 miles all the time. I got this. So Oregon, to finish up, it's a great race for both first timers and PR seekers, of course. For the first timers, it's less intimidating swim. It's a pretty simple venue again. Your transition's all in one area. Parking's pretty easy. It's a pretty small city, Salem. So it's a really simple venue. It's a fast bike, flat run. It's just a really good, confident building race. I've coached quite a few athletes to do this race their first time, and they've really enjoyed it and had success. And then for the experienced athletes, obviously there's PR potential, especially if you haven't done a downriver swim. Even if you've done downriver swims, this is a good PR potential swim if you're chasing a PR. It's a great course for a strong age group athletes who potentially might be looking for qualifying slots to the world championships, especially if you're a strong cyclist and runner and have some advantage with that downriver swim. And again, I've had quite a few athletes get the world championship qualifying slots at this race. So it is a great race for that. And I've had most of my athletes PR at this race just simply because the course is fast. But it still feels good, and it's a feel-good type of race. So just to recap, the swim course, swim the course before race day if possible. Try to get there to swim it on Friday or Saturday. I shoot for Friday. Typically I like to swim it on Friday, so I do get more of that rest day on Saturday, even though it is an easy swim. But if Saturday's the option, you can do it. And then start hard and swim that past that sandbar, that diagonal, put in a nice hard effort, get into the current, get your breath, settle in, and get into a nice comfortable pace down for the downriver swim, and you'll have a great fast swim. And then sight well, use landmarks. You have the buoys, but you can also find some landmarks on shore that help, and sight the current. Try to make sure you know where the current is at all times. And then make sure you bring shoes or flip-flops for the walk to the swim start, whether you're going to check those or toss them. And then stay disciplined on the rolling bike. They call it a flat bike, but there's some rolling hills, so stay a bit disciplined on those. Make sure you're fueling early, like I discussed, right when you get on the bike, settle on the bike, start fueling for your day, for the finish of the run. And then pace the run for the hotter final miles, and those are the last 3 miles. And go in it with a hydration plan and a mantra so you're ready to finish strong. if you're racing Oregon next week, I hope this video helps. You show up calm and confident and ready to take advantage of one of the best 70.3 races on the calendar. If you have any questions about that race, if you have any have any more questions I didn't cover, shoot me a DM or comment. I'll try to get back to you before the race and answer any other questions you may have about the race. I do have a lot of local intel on this race too. And I'll be out there racing and coaching, so I look forward to seeing you out there.